1787, they assembled in Philadelphia to hammer out the details of the Constitution. And for all of their brilliance, it was them who disenfranchised any person that did not own land and every single woman in this country. It was them who heinously judged a black person's worth at 3/5 that of a white person. Unfortunately, our history is full of some dark moments, from the horrific abuse of Americans of Japanese heritage in World War II to the brutal beating of black people who were marching for their voting rights across the Edmund Pettus Bridge. Because of these examples and many others, America is no different in any other country that has ever come before us, from Persia to Rome to Britain. Those countries allowed their base instincts and they succumbed to fear, ignorance, and hate. Such was the case in 1860. Abraham Lincoln ascended to the presidency perhaps in our darkest hour. The issue of slavery had reached a boiling point. The very future of the nation was at risk. In that moment of crisis, Lincoln rose to the occasion, and America rose from the ashes with the promise of a better future than that of the past. Although far from perfect, the long arc of American history since the chaos that ensued during the Civil War has gone slowly uphill, sometimes agonizingly so, toward a more perfect union. Lincoln almost certainly would have been a champion of the progress America's made since the Civil War. One can easily envision Lincoln giving impassioned speeches heralding women's suffrage, the Civil Rights Movement, the Voting Rights Act, Social Security, and Medicaid, to name a few. All of these have led to a more inclusive, equitable society. But we cannot stand on the laurels and celebrate, for everything achieved can also be unraveled. Rights are being threatened and revoked, putting a century and a half of progress in jeopardy. We stand once again at the precipice. Our nation, yours and mine, is on the retreat and in danger. Many of us have given into the fear, ignorance, and hate. The dark clouds that once may have seemed so far away they would never touch us are now here. That seemed unfathomable 10 years ago. At least our comfort and complacency said so. A month after Donald Trump descended that golden escalator, I was with my sons on a minor league baseball tour in Iowa. Cornfields, Class A ball, and a side trip to Field of Dreams. It was nirvana. One night at a Clinton Lumber Kings game, my youngest son, Garrett, said something that has reverberated ever since that day. He said, "Dad, I'm worried about Trump." My response at the time was to laugh and assuage his concerns with wisdom collected from a lifetime of experience. So much has happened since then. Generational damage has been done by Trump, his sycophants, and the people who follow him. Science has been assaulted. Anti-vaxxers and climate deniers put all of us at risk. Heinous policies such as child separation toward our hearts. The very existence of our democracy was in peril on January 6th, and so much more. In the week following the 2024 election, several students, many of them Hispanic and or female, approached me expressing their concerns Donald Trump returning to the Oval Office. Some were worried about their individual rights being stripped. Others were concerned that their parents may be taken away. I did my best to try to console them at the time, fully knowing there's very little I could say in the moment that would make much of a difference. So it took a few days, and I reflected on it. Then I came back and I decided to write something on my whiteboard that is there to this day, and it will stay there for a while. It reads, Look to the night sky, and one only notices the faint flicker of the light scattered across the heavens. Hold on to that light, for it is the only armor we have to combat the darkness. Today, my hope for students is that they know they are not alone. This feeling of being alone permeates everyone, not just teenagers. We can feel very small and insignificant in these moments, but we all have a voice, and it matters. Always. So much about Abraham Lincoln is known from his own writings and those of others. He truly was an exceptionally unique and complex man. But even Lincoln suffered from prolonged bouts of melancholy and depression. This did not stop him, however, from being the man we remember today. Perhaps Lincoln's greatest quality was empathy. He abhorred injustice and would shudder at the weaponization of the words liberal, progressive, or woke. Lincoln would be a master at explaining why these are the best of human qualities. Then he'd fight back. Abraham Lincoln would admire men like John Lewis. The civil rights hero Lewis had his skull fractured, marching for voting rights on the Evan Pettus Bridge. He spent his entire life leading by example, imploring you to get into good trouble. Fortunately, America has been filled with others who fight back and make good trouble. A very insufficient list. A very insufficient list of some of these trailblazers includes Frederick Douglass, Elizabeth Cady Stanton, Susan B. Anthony, Sir Gertrude Truth, James Baldwin, the Tuskegee Airmen, Ruby Bridges, Jesse Owens, Jackie Robinson, Billie Jean King, Muhammad Ali, Gloria Steinem, Harriet Tubman, Shirley Chisholm, Claudette Colvin, Rosa Parks, Cesar Chavez, Harry Beecher Stowe, Ray Bradbury, Henry David Thoreau, and of course, Martin Luther King Jr. Each and all stood toe-to-toe with those who oppress and deny them and others of their basic human rights. Arguably, the greatest 2 minutes of American speech occurred on November 19, 1863. 4.5 months have passed since the bloodiest battle of the Civil War. President Lincoln was on hand for the dedication of what would eventually become the Gettysburg National Cemetery, commemorating the thousands who fell upon those pastoral fields in Pennsylvania. At the end of that extraordinary 2 minutes, Lincoln perfectly defined the potential of America with the following words: a government of the people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish from this earth. Back to the beginning. American exceptionalism is a myth. Exceptional Americans, however, are very real. Lincoln would like to implore you, potentially, not to be like him, but be the best version of you. If you see an injustice, it's your duty, it's your obligation to say something. Every movement from the beginning of time starts with one voice. Lincoln knew that and led by example. So too did Dr. King and thousands of others. Time's now. Make your moment count. Do not be afraid of the impending darkness. Look for the light. Be the exceptional American your country demands of you today. Thank you.
history and understand the importance of keeping a view of history close, especially now, so that we don't lose sight of both the hope that history offers, but then also the understanding of the challenges that lie before us. Our next speaker tonight, Dana Black. She's been with us here in Logansport a couple of times. We love Dana. We hope that she will come back yet again. She's always a great inspiration. Dana received her bachelor's degree in information system from Indiana Wesleyan University and an MBA in IT focus from Southern New Hampshire University. After the introduction of the RFRA legislation, Dana realized changes were needed in Indiana, and she was a candidate for the Indiana House of Representatives District 88. Although coming up short in 2016, Dana was appointed as the Deputy Chair of Engagement of the Indiana Democratic Party in 2017. And she served in that role until 2021. Dana is also the host of the internet political show and podcast Turn Left, and I will tell you, it's one of the top-rated political shows. Great show to listen to if you're looking for another podcast to add to your list. Again, it's called Turn Left. It's a monthly, and she is a monthly contributor to the Indianapolis Business Journal's Forefront and Wish TV's All Indiana Politics. After hearing her tonight, I guarantee you're going to walk out of here with a little spring in your step, because Dana's going to deliver. Thank you so much. Let's bring her to the stage.
Thank you. Can you guys hear me in the back? Because it's standing room only in Logansport. Y'all give yourselves a hand. And I gotta tell you, as proud Democrats, and y'all should, when y'all go home tonight, look in the mirror and say, we actually went outside on the most embarrassing day of our American history. And we look good. You got your suit on, you look good. Y'all got the fresh haircut going on. Just made my mother, if I had behaved that way, my mother's been gone since 2001. I still would have felt her hand on the back of my head. You know what I'm saying? You just don't behave like that and treat guests like that. And the interesting thing is, we'll listen to the political pundits from all over the country, and those of us that have an ounce of mental capacity will say that was disgraceful. But his spineless supporters will tell you that was a sign of strength.
Yeah. Strong man.
My dad used to tell me, when a bully picks on you, hit him in the eye. Now, I'm not condoning violence, but what he was saying was, you stand up for yourself, and that's what President Zelensky did. Do we have any elected officials in the House? If you are, would you please stand? All right. Y'all, listen, Democrats in the House, you're elected officials. And do we have Indiana Democratic or any county party leadership in the House? Will you please stand up as well, please? Party leadership. If you're a PC, if you are a county chair, vice chair, district chair, stand up. So I probably should have done a little bit better job at looking up Professor Looker, because he just gave y'all my speech. Because I find myself in rooms where there may be 2 or 3 that look like me quite regularly. And often I am asked by these really astonished faces, they can't seem to grasp, how are we allowing this to happen? What is going on? And oh my God, what will we do? We have never seen anything like this before. That's usually what I get, right? And then, like Professor Looker just did, I had a whole host of historical moments that I was going to share with you. And I think I still will. Because as bad as you think it is right now, you did not have to walk the Trail of Tears. Amen. And you don't know about Wounded Knee. As people are losing their jobs, it's bad. But they did not have the government come and kick them out of their homes and put them in internment camps. When our soldiers came home from World War I, Professor Looker and I, we ought to have a conversation about this. Red Summer in 1919. See, all the servicemen were coming back, right? And they were all competing for the same opportunities. And just like right now, mediocre white men don't want to compete, so they just started lynching everybody. Yeah, I'm gonna make y'all uncomfortable. Okay? Because we all on the same side. We on the same side. We believe in democracy for everybody. We on the same side. And trust me, I believe if we on the same side, when I say mediocre white men, I ain't talking about y'all. So don't take it to heart. All right? But there are people out there who don't want to compete, and that's why we're getting rid of DEI. Right? We don't want to compete. We want to go back to when it was great. Well, I always ask one of them people that say that dumb stuff to me. Please tell me when America was great. I just want to know. Give me a decade, and then I drop some, Professor Looker knowledge on them, and they look like, oh well, it was great for somebody. And then some parents are having to go home and talk to their kids about that horrible display in the White House. But it will never be the same as when my father was talking to me at the kitchen table in 1977 and expressing his emotional disgust at what happened to Emmett Till in 1955. And his fear of going to visit his wife's family who was from Mississippi. I mean, my daddy was a man's man. Like, I mean, he was all of 5'6". You know how they are when they're about that tall. Real man's man. And I find it interesting that the Orange Menace isn't interested in the FBI or wants to control the FBI. But if you don't know what happened in Chicago to Fred Hampton, then you know the FBI ain't always been on our side. And I think there's a thread between what Professor Looker and I are doing. We're giving you a snapshot of moments in history that were pretty freaking bad. But it wasn't always bad for everybody. For some people, they didn't know the thing was happening. It wasn't until they saw the water hoses and the dogs, they went, is it that bad? There was a chick on TV, on one of the podcasts this week that said, what, was drinking out of separate water fountains that bad? In 2025. Another question to ask you. Are there any charter school corporations in Logansport? No. Not a one? Not one charter school. Get out of here. So
they just take the money anyway.
what? They gonna steal the line. I was doing the wind up, bro. I was doing the wind up. So let me ask you this. In Indianapolis, there's a gazillion of them, and one of them just got found of embezzlement and fraud, because that's what they do with these charter corporations, because there's no checks and balances. And so they've decided, we're going to take a whole lot more money from public schools and give them to the charter schools. And Logansport, y'all ain't got no charter schools. So that means y'all got to do more with less. You got the same amount of students. You still got to pay the teachers. You got to keep the buildings updated. You got to give them technology. But they're giving your money to charter schools. Well, let me ask you this. Surely there's at least 4 or 5, right? How many private schools are in Logansport? What? There are 0 private schools in Logansport? Well, I mean, I know at the State House they're doing universal vouchers. Surely this community will be able to take advantage of those, right? Oh, dang. So they just taking y'all's money and not giving nothing back. How y'all like that? But there's a goal in defunding public education. The goal is if I keep you without the information, then I can abuse you. This has been happening, and it was a plan. And so now we have a bunch of people running around America, especially from rural America, where there are no choices in education, who had to do as much with a whole lot less, who didn't get the full bit of information, nor did they learn how to disseminate information, being led astray by the Pied Piper. Now, there is a lot going on, but it still ain't as bad as having to rummage in the night trying to get the freedom. I need y'all to understand that. But it is definitely as bad as when the Germans was like, ain't nothing going on here. What y'all talking about? It ain't that bad. It is. It is definitely that bad. And I know you want to tune out. I know you don't want to look at it every day. And like his voice just breaks me, right? Shut up. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, stop talking. And it just gets on, and he just everywhere. And then MSNBC and Fox and CNN, they just play him over and over and over again, like they addicted to that crap. I will not be hypnotized, and I will not be dazzled by the BS. Somebody asked, are you scared? No. Jasmine Crockett said, no, we ain't scared. Do you know why? Because we've been through this before. We done been through housing shortages and discrimination. We done been through redlining. We done been through not being able to have an opportunity to succeed in life. Now it's just hitting y'all. It's hitting y'all. So when they ask me, Dana, well, what should we do? What we gonna do with all this? Well, first of all, find a marginalized community and understand what they did. We don't talk about Cesar Chavez enough for what he did for the migrant workers and getting them to unionize. When we talk about the union struggle, we often talk about what was happening in the East, in the clothing mills, and what was happening in Detroit with the automakers. But when Cesar Chavez unionized agricultural workers, man, that was astonishing. Find out what we did. When 1969, just trying to dance and have a cocktail in New York at the Stonewall Inn, being harassed because I just look better in a tie and cufflinks than I would in a dress. The police are beating people upside their heads. That woman was just drugged out of a public meeting, wasn't she? Did y'all see one of the dudes was on disability? What did the dudes that drug him out? That's crazy. He was on disability. How you gonna drag somebody out on disability? And then of course we have the unelected. See, my mama is catching me. You see what I'm saying? You see how my mama is? I told you, my mama didn't even. We have this unelected apartheid-loving South African running our government. So you ask me, what do you do? Well, I remember talking to some white supremacists and some white Christian nationalists, and I said, you can't get rid of us all. You cannot. So once you study the marginalized communities, and you see what they did to get through the government oppression, state-sanctioned oppression, right? Are we connecting the dots? State-sanctioned oppression, and you understand the resiliency, you find the resiliency in yourself. Now, we ain't finna give you no more free labor. We done with that. But look to us, because it's in our DNA. I am literally a descendant of the survivors of the Middle Passage. It's in my DNA. And so now what do we do next? Okay, Dana told us to go study some things, go look some stuff up, figure out what they did, how they resist. Not everybody's gonna make it through. Okay, we have to learn how to deal with that, right? Not everybody's gonna make it. But these are the things that we can do. The next thing we have to do is remember to keep showing up. You can't go home and hide your head in the sand. Because once we begin to be silent, they win. Why do y'all think I got a podcast, be on TV, writing articles? You can't shut me up. You have to literally cut my internet to shut me up. It just ain't gonna happen. It just ain't gonna happen. It's gonna happen. You gotta be loud, you gotta be proud, you gotta be in their faces. Oh, and by the way, remind them that this is a representative government. They are supposed to be talking to you, and you keep hounding them until they do. Remind them, despite every effort that they will put forth to not have an election in 2 years, we will have one. And we will have the forces behind us to kick their behinds out. Because I know Brian is going to have somebody in District 2 ready to go. And if God willing, I win in Marion County, I'm going to help the District 7 chair and the District 6 chair have somebody ready to go. Well, we don't need anybody in 7. We good in 7. Wait a minute. Well, I got caught up. Andre Carson good. We good. You got to get hyped and you be ready to go, right? So listen, this is our democracy. It's not pretty. Sometimes it does not move in a linear way. It circles back and forth, around and around. We take 2 steps forward. Sometimes we take 1 step back. Sometimes we take 5 steps back. But we still keep moving forward. We are resilient. And we are the resistance.
Yes.
Now, not everybody is built the same way, right? Some of y'all, the idea of standing up in front of before I go too far, standing up in a room full of people giving a speech, I'm gonna take y'all's picture. That's it, because that's crazy. This room is packed. Standing up in front of a room full of people terrifies you more than your own demise. We know this to be factual. So, if you're not an out front person, well, what can I do, Dana, in the movement? How can I be of service? I'm not like you. I can't, talk a good game. Can you bake some cookies? Y'all think I'm playing? Because somebody's going to be marching. Somebody's going to be at a podium speaking. Somebody's going to be out knocking doors. Somebody's going to be phone banking. Somebody's going to be out recruiting people to help knock doors, right? And they're going to need a snack. See, I thought I was being funny. How many tech heads do I have in here? I know I'm one. How many people, databases and websites and code and all of that stuff? Guess what? We need to be strategic in how we communicate with people. AI is coming, but the AI can run the program that we need fast. So say your county party chair says, who should we target today? Well, let me help you figure that out. How many people are really good accountants? Good with your money? CPAs in here? No? Okay. Well, we'll forget that part. Because I'm hoping y'all ain't got to file no finance reports. I'm teasing. I'm trying to think of all the things and all the different ways we can help, right? You don't have to do the same thing. My point is, bring whatever gift you have to the movement. Say you're an 18-year-old who doesn't really have a car, but you love kids. Could you maybe babysit the kids of a candidate when they go out and outdoors? Hey, let me watch your kid for you, especially our female candidates, right? There's lots of ways to get involved. It's not just one way. But you have to find it within yourself to get up and do it. Nobody's going to make you save America. Nobody's going to make you save our democracy. You have to say it is worth saving. If you have served in the military, will you please stand up right now? If you have served in the military, I don't care what branch, if you have served in the military, you made the ultimate sacrifice. You said, I will serve my country, and whatever comes of it, whatever happens to my life, so be it. And how dare they say that your sacrifice was not worth it? That you were suckers and chumps? Because that's what he thinks of who we are as Americans. That we are not worth fighting for. That we can be used and abused and tossed aside. He is the worst form of domestic violence we have ever seen. I'm tell you, I get on the roll. Let me turn to the State House for a minute, then. Y'all mind if I do that? Because we got a white Christian nationalist in the White House, in the State House. You know, Micah Beckwith. We don't get, listen. Dude don't even know where Terre Haute is or how to spell it. Embarrassing. Where was his tag? Mike Braun is an orange man sycophant. Mike Braun does not mean Indiana any good. Mike Braun is ready to make sure every local government comes to their knees. You know, even in the campaign, he said, y'all just gonna have to figure out how to do more with less. While they want to pass again universal vouchers, giving families making over $270,000 extra money. Here, you can do more with more. It is a shift in wealth. We are going to be the servant class if you don't make at least $175,000 a year. Do you realize the whole goal is to warehouse certain children? They don't even want to care if they get an education. Mike Braun stripped all DEI away. But if you look at any, go to his Instagram. Tell me when he talks to people of color. I ain't seen a picture yet. Everybody he talked to, even in the campaign, I went all around Indiana and I talked to people. You need to have to marry a black person. I know we ain't but 9% in the state, but we 30% in Indianapolis. And guess what? We pay taxes too. You're supposed to come talk to us. The Hispanic population is growing faster and faster. We have a huge Burmese population. We have a huge Indian population. And a huge Asian population. You don't care about none of them? No, he don't. And then of course Micah Beckwith. Man, I'm gonna give it to him though. He was sneaky. I mean, he beat the establishment. He beat Braun's handpicked trick. So you gotta give it to him. He knew he was never going to be chosen. So he outmaneuvered them. Braun was sick. Like the night he won, you could just see like he wanted to just, food wasn't sitting right. Like, he's the most dangerous one. Because although he does not vote in the Senate, he has influence in the Senate. Now I know Bray thinks he's the pro tem, just like Orange Man thinks he's the president. He's not. But our state house, first of all, ladies, if you are childbearing age, I hope y'all plan for it. That's all I can tell you. Because they literally have a bill in the state house right now that says if a woman gets an abortion, we're going to charge her with murder and sentence her to death. Nothing says pro-life like the death penalty. Make that make sense. We're going to push you to death if you have an abortion. They have another bill, we've been talking about education, they got another bill going through the House that says public schools have to share transportation with private schools. There's another bill that says they have to share the referendum dollars with charter schools. But we can't get marijuana. Because that's all that. Don't you feel like you need to smoke? Don't you feel like you need to talk? Come on. They say they believe in freedom and justice. They just believe in freedom and just us. They ain't talking about us. They ain't talking about me and you. They ain't talking about the working people that go to work every day. All you really want to do is let your children have a better life than you had. Save up for a vacation every now and then, see some beach, and not ending in the dunes. I like the dunes, but it ain't, you know. It's South Florida. They're not working for us anymore. They're working for themselves. They literally, over in Lebanon, have you heard about the tech park, the park they're building over there? And they want to take the drinking water to cool down the AI. Well, we're only going to take a few 100,000 gallons. Well, what are the people going to drink? It's not what they say, it's what they do. So, what else can you do? We're on the second half of the State House. There are still too many bills for one person to read through. Whatever the topic or whatever the interest that you have, that is your passion, go to the State House website, the General Assembly website, type it in, and see if a bill pops up. Like if you type in abortion, there's a bill gonna pop up. Or if you type in vehicle law, a bill's gonna pop up, right? And you find out what kind of bill it is, and is it positive or negative for your community. And if it's negative for your community, you get out there and you say something about it. And if it's positive, get out there and say something about it, right? Because again, this is a representative government. They're supposed to represent you. But unfortunately, because not enough of us show up to the polls, they feel like they can do whatever they want to do. Now, the next job I got for y'all, yes, I'm handing out chores. It takes all of us when it comes to party work. There's power in the party. You're not alone when you're in the party. And we have varying degrees of who we are. We got the bluest of blue dog and the most progressive of socialists in our party. Because they're the party of things and wealth. We're the party of people. Right? And when we get together and we fight for a thing together, we move it forward. Kent State was horrible, but we ended up getting out of Vietnam. Right? The assassination of MLK and JFK in the same year brought a whole bunch of people together in Indianapolis to talk about it. Not as a statue. Symbolic, but nonetheless. Right? Out of tragedy, right, we can find wholeness. If we all agree that we all deserve liberty and freedom, You gotta buy into it. I know, listen, if you like me, you got vocabulary fatigue. I mean, I'm 54, I'm a lesbian, I'm black, and pronouns mess me up every day. Take two. I be trying. That's why I tell people my pronouns are she, he, they, because I like to keep them guessing. Confused. But if someone tells you their pronouns, try to take it in, right? I saw a video the other day where a lady was addressing a council member. He was a male, and she kept saying, "Madam Chair," and he was like, "No, I'm a man." Okay, but you just passed an ordinance that said I don't have to acknowledge your pronoun, Madam Chair. I thought, really? That was brilliant. Like, give it back to them, see how they like it. Sometimes you gotta feel the pain, right? You gotta feel it. But we all have to get involved in this government. We the people is a thing. It's the largest words in our Constitution. But if we the people sit back and let the other people take care of me, we're not gonna be we the people no more. And if you see me out, wilding out in front of a white supremacist or nationalist or a homophobic, stand next to me. You ain't gotta do nothing. Just stand there and make sure I don't die. And I'll do the same for you. Trust on me, because I took 2 years of karate and taekwondo. But here's the thing. Like, I'm ready to flip the script. You know, Professor Lucas said, bring the light. And I'm going to tell you now, bring the love, light, and joy. Because there's no greater feeling than freedom and justice for all, and everybody working together collectively to uplift each other. There's nothing better than that. I wake up every morning joyful in the midst of all this chaos because I know I'm living my best life and I'm trying to help you live yours. Listen, my mother was born in 1929 in Forest, Mississippi. My daddy was born in 1932 in Indianapolis. My mother was so poor, she didn't have shoes. Traumatized her so bad that we could not walk around the house barefoot. And to this day, I can't do it, it hurts, right? Because that was the trauma that she felt. But my mother would tell us stories about how my mother would go out and she would pick the cotton because that's the only jobs they had available to people, and the whole family had to do it, right? They would go out and they would pick the cotton. My mother was so good at it, like she would have 2 bags and she'd be going out 2 rows picking the cotton, right? She was better than everybody else. My mother told me no matter what you do in life, be the best at it. And she was picking cotton. Never in a million years would they have ever imagined. I remember I told my mother, I'm not working weekends. Like, it used to drive me crazy as a kid because my parents were always gone on the weekends and all my friends' parents were at home. Like, goodbye. And so my mother said, yeah, because my mother worked in a hospital. Whatever. I don't work weekends unless I choose to. And I have 3 degrees. They could have never imagined in a million years, in 1929, 1932, that their queer daughter, like, gender non-conforming, you can't even put on makeup, lesbian. You know what I'm saying? Like, so, if in one generation we can go from picking cotton as sharecroppers to holding an MBA and standing in a room full of amazing Democrats in Logansport saying, let's stand up and let's stand up together, anything is possible. And we can do this together. Now, I can give you a pep talk. I want to know who's going to rise up and stand up with me and go ahead and change some things. Because they will not rule us. They will not change us. They will not belittle us. We are Democrats and we're going to fight for the people. I'm easy to find, Dana at indianasown.com. So when you need a pick-me-up, hit me up.